Months after it won a lawsuit over legislative boundaries, North Dakota is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit its victory, baffling others involved in the state's redistricting fights and prompting some legal experts to call the state's action a potential assault on the Voting Rights Act. The issue is a ruling over a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of a redistricting map that created House subdistricts encompassing 2 American Indian reservations. Proponents of the subdistricts say they gave tribal nations better chances to elect their own members. Last fall, a federal 3-judge panel tossed out the lawsuit at the request of the state and the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. The plaintiffs appealed. North Dakota Attorney General Drew Wrigley saying the 3-judge panel decided the matter correctly under existing case law, but he says for the wrong reason. Wrigley says in part, we're not seeking to reverse the panel's decision. We're seeking to have it upheld for the reason that race was not the predominant factor, and we think that we should prevail. In a statement, MHA Nation Tribal Chairman Mark Fox calling it extremely disappointing to see Wrigley's office now arguing for this winning judgment to be vacated and this matter sent back down for a trial. He says they oppose the change of position when the Attorney General raised it, and they oppose it now. Wrigley says the Supreme Court will decide whether to have oral arguments and further briefing. There's lots more to this story. We've got all the details posted to the VNL News app.